Welcome to Cross Platform Podcast, where we discuss how to solve productivity problems across platforms. I'm Augusto Pinat,
And I'm Mark Elwicks.
and today we're talking about how can I manage my time more effectively? How can we accomplish that? Is that possible?
Yeah, this is one of those questions that's probably the most popular, most common, and least often answered questions that we run into. Time is that kind of limited resource where we all know there's only X number of hours in the day, there's only Y number of hours in the week. And everything that you have to do, personal and professional, has to fit into that time period. So what we thought we'd do this week is tackle really three sub questions under that main question. The first is, what do we see is truly the biggest challenge to managing our time? When people think about where to start, what would you tell them is in your world, what have you found is the biggest challenge to people getting their time managed and under control?
The biggest challenge is I don't know what I have on my plate.
Mm,
I don't know. There are three I don't know. I don't know what I want in my plate. I don't know where I want to go. Okay. And I don't know how to control their schedule. Okay. And what I found is when I work with clients and you ask them, okay, what do you have on your plate? Oh, it's a lot. Okay. I'm sure of that. I have a lot too. You have a lot too. The question is what a lot means. Because when we don't know that, then we are in trouble. Okay. People tend to don't know how much is that a lot in their personal side, in their professional side. And that is a problem. Okay. The second thing is where do you want to go? And that's something you and I have discussed a lot. Okay. If you don't know where you want to go, you don't know what meetings to attend. You don't know really. Then now everything is you need to do everything. And that is not necessarily true. Okay. And the third thing is what do you see into all this? I love when people I have shared with clients and things my calendar, my actual calendar, okay, and people look at me and say I cannot handle that calendar, and I say, well, this is the life that I have. Okay, the reality is I have a company. Okay, I have clients. Okay, I have clients who they have time that they have paid for that are fixed in my calendar. Okay, that is their time in my calendar, and there are clients who we talk when we talk, and it's fine. Both things are fine. Okay, and I also have two kids, and I also have a family, and when I plan, I don't plan Monday to Friday. That is one of the biggest mistakes I found in people. When you ask them, okay, where is your show me your planning for the week? Okay, what you are trying to accomplish. Okay, and they show you and say, okay, how about Saturday and Sunday? Okay, the reality is, you like it or not like it, you need to manage those 7 days. You cannot say, okay, I'm going to cramp everything Monday to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday are going to be a party time. That works very well when you were 18 and you could drink until 2 in the morning and wake up at 8. That doesn't work for me anymore. Okay, if I go to bed too late, the next morning is shut. That's the reality.
I think you're hitting on probably one of the most important parts of it is that there are two different perspectives to what time is, at least in our modern world. Many people still have this perspective that there's a work time, there's a non-work time, and to be respectful, there's also a sleep time. I mean, we're supposed to have that. So if
Mm-hmm.
we do the basic math, we're supposed to have that 8 hours of sleep time. That leaves 16 hours per day. Of that, theoretically, 8 hours should be working time and 8 hours should be personal time. And people think that, oh, wow, I should have 8 hours of personal time. Yeah, but it doesn't translate that way. If you
Correct.
have something that is that structured, that's working to your advantage in definition, but nobody has that anymore because out of that 8 hours of personal time, You have personal time that gets consumed for pre-work time and post-work time. You have personal time that is consumed for with other people's personal time. And it's not actually an 8-hour block. It wraps around and in between the other blocks of time. So what we wind up doing is we have so much stuff that winds up getting crammed into, especially the personal time blocks, that the only places that we can sacrifice additional time, shifting it around, is from the sleep cycle. Because we can't
Mhm.
really give up work. They won't let us do that unless we have, and this is where I think many of our clients fall in, a much more granular level of view of time. And that's when there isn't that clear start and end to a day. There isn't that clear definition and framework as to what is working time, what is non-working time. And I think based on my interactions with clients, my own personal interaction, the biggest challenge to managing time, I agree with you, being aware of what has to go into those time blocks is absolutely critical. I think understanding what time you actually have is, what's your base working set is the first limitation. Because if you don't understand the blocks you have to work with in the beginning, it doesn't matter what you put into them because it'll never fit right. You'll constantly be jockeying. So when when you
And,
look at other, go ahead.
and let me interrupt you there, okay? Because out of the many things I have learned, teach, and apply, okay, there is a Canadian coach, okay, called Dan Sullivan, who he talks about a different way to approach this. Okay. And Dan Sullivan talks about the problem is we do exactly what you said. Okay. We work 8 hours. Okay. And now we took out of the sleep hours. And his approach is go the opposite. Okay. Figure it out what is the time that you need. Okay. And then figure it out how the rest fit. Okay. And he was the one who made me look into what was the definition of time. And what I discovered is most of my clients, including me when I started doing it, was the definition of time was really the definition of scarcity. Okay. When most of us think about time, we don't think about all the time that I have. No, no, you think about all the time you don't. Okay.
Mhm.
Why? Because we are putting the things on the opposite direction. Instead of looking, okay, what do I need to be an optimum machine? Okay, what do I need to be on the optimum self? 8 hours of sleep, 1 hour to eat, an hour of exercise, whatever it is for you. Okay, what make you on your optimal? Okay, then you need that time blocked. Okay, then you go to the rest of the things. Okay, that's what most people don't do. Most people do work, catch up work, okay, and then get to that point, as you said, they sit at 11 a.m. in their bed, okay, and now they feel like, okay, and all the day is taking me, and now I'm going to do this in my phone for the next 2 hours. Yeah, but you are punishing yourself.
Well, and I concur. Uh, Putting yourself first absolutely is the best way to do it. It requires a great deal of self-awareness, self-actualization, and self-valuation to be able to even have that conversation with yourself, because you need to now place your own value above these external valuations that are being placed on demands on your time. So things like kids' needs. What you're talking about is being able to say that, you know what, maybe the kids aren't going to go do this because I need the time. That's a huge step for many, many people to make that self-valuation commitment to the importance of their own time. Is it worthwhile? Absolutely. But it's
Absolutely.
also probably a huge step for many people too.
But it's as I teach with my as I share and teach my clients, it's not about tell the kid, oh no, I'm not, you cannot do this because of this. It's about you planning for that time. Okay. My kids do sports, my kids do, okay. For me, that time that says on my calendar in blue or pink,
Hmm.
sorry, those are the colors of my kids. Okay. When I see blue in that calendar, okay, that means I have a chunk of X amount of time okay, that I need to plan. I don't go to the game or to the practice, okay? When the games, I tend to pay more attention, okay? But
Hmm.
in the practice, I don't pay attention to the practice, okay? I need to be there for, or I need to choose. I'm going to drop the kid and come back, okay? And that has a time deliberation,
Hmm.
okay? Why? Because if the baseball field, that's my kid, okay, it's 20 minutes away, okay, that means dropping, coming back, and going back to pick him up, that's 60 minutes. Do I want to spend those 60 minutes driving? Or can I plan for something that I can do there in my
Hmm.
car, okay, during those 60 minutes? And that is what most people have never, was never been, they never, no one teach them that,
Yeah, but
okay?
I think that's getting ahead of the equation though, because you haven't addressed the one thing that I think people really need the ability to do, and that's to say no. How often do you say no, I won't get into that. I won't commit my time to that. And that goes to the second question that I want to keep us on with here, which is what's the biggest weakness in time management? And I think, at least from my perspective, from what I've seen, the inability to separate a request of our time as to being a commitment of our time. So let's take kids, for example. You get a request from one of your kids, they want to go to a party. So it's maybe a half hour away, half hour back, that kind of thing. Is that a commitment to you doing that? Do you have the ability to say no for yourself? I'm not saying you say no all the time, but do you have the option on requests and commitments, requests of your time to control the commitment of that amount of time?
I wrote a very short book called No, N-O, okay? And I dedicated it to my kids many years back, okay? Talking exactly about this, okay? And I can give you this example, I'm chuckling here because this tomorrow my daughter had a party, okay? So semi-formal thing, great. So she came to me and said, hey, some friends wants to do a pre-party, and then
Mhm.
we go to the party, and then we go to the post-party, okay? And I look at her and say, I'm not committing to any of this. I will think about it, okay? And I will get back to you because so far you asked me to transport you and three friends to the party. That is fine. But what you are requesting me is I drive you to a pre-party, pick you up in the pre-party, so I drive you to the party. Okay, pick you up on the party, so I drop you to the post-party, and then pick all of you up on the post-party and deliver people
Mhm.
home. That's too much for me. Okay, I cannot commit right now. The only thing I'm committed is to the party, and we will need to discuss the rest. But you need to build that. Okay? But that requires treating your kids also as an adult. You know, my kids, okay, and I have this. If there is no, if it's, this is not in the calendar, do not exist. Okay, I have been telling that to my kids since the beginning of time.
Mhm.
Okay, and that produced that my kids look at the calendar and look at my calendar, okay, and come and ask, hey, do I have this party on Friday? Can you drop me off? Can you bring me in? But one of the things I found, and this is a productivity issue, okay, that we do, you are very good. You took, read the books, suffered to learn to manage your calendar, your email, listen to us talking, but you
Mhm.
keep that knowledge to yourself. Okay. Why? Because you were mocked at some point by another adult. Okay. Mostly tend to be your significant other. Okay. When you want to say, oh, I read this book. Okay. And the significant other shut you down. Great. Okay. The problem is, if you don't pass that knowledge to your kid, there are two things that are happening. One
Mhm.
is your kid will need to do exactly what you did or what your significant other did. Okay. Because in many cases, okay, you find that person who discovered how productivity can help them, okay, and the other person doesn't, okay, opposite attract, that is a fact, okay, but you need to choose. If you want your life to be better, you need the people in your team, okay, to work with these systems. Okay, when I work with clients, people tell me, how did you did to make so and so work with you? There was no other option. That is my answer. And I'm a contractor. I'm not an employee. I'm not, okay. It's This is how this engagement works.
Right. Now, this is okay. You've made an important transition back into an area I want you to dig into a little further because we were talking a lot about the personal control over, and that being able to control your personal time is because it's your time. You can truly say no and deal with the ramifications thereof. But let's talk about in the workplace. Let's talk about in business. How do you go through that exercise? What do you recommend to people to get a hold of that time when a lot of times, no pun intended, a lot of times that is outside of their control. And I'm going to use the example for myself when we talk about meetings. Anybody who knows me knows that if I call a meeting, if I actually, want to have like a Zoom meeting or call a meeting, there's a damn good reason for it because there is a value out of that time spent aggregate that is much greater than back and forth communications. That there's a value to the immediacy as well, which means I rarely call meetings. I rarely will say, hey, let's sit down and let's talk about this, because I think in most cases it's not necessary. Not only is that a valuation thing, but it's also a time management thing. Because if I can look at a piece of information and process it and take the questions and do the research and come back with the answers and give that back to you, and we can do that back and forth asynchronously, there is a greater value in those discussions I've found many times than in the kind of groupthink that occurs within meetings and those breakdowns. So from a professional standpoint, what do you think is the biggest weakness of people managing their time?
We are afraid of the rules. Many years back, many moons back, okay, I was a sales manager, okay, and I explained in my calendar, in that reply box, okay, I reply, I do not take phone calls between 6 and 8 p.m.
Mhm.
Please leave a message and I will return your call at 8 p.m. Okay, that has two issues. Okay, you are setting the rule very clear to everybody. I do not respond anything. My phone was on airplane mode. Okay, that why? Because I travel a lot. Okay, and 6 to 8 was the time that I had for me and the kids. And if I was traveling, that was my time. Okay,
Mhm.
if I was at home, that was for the kids. If I was traveling, that was my time because was the time that I could call Skype, FaceTime, interact with the kids. Okay, and it was sacred. Okay, I didn't care who you were. Okay, I didn't respond to clients, boss. I don't care who you were. You could leave a message, but this is the thing. You need to respond at 8. Okay. When you put that agreement, I will not take the call, but I will return at 8. You need to return those calls. Okay. On on meetings, I spend hours on them. Okay. And one of the things when I work with clients, okay, where there is multiple people, is I kick people out of the meeting. Okay. If you are not, I don't care how long is the meeting. Okay. And a lot of them are technical meetings that last more than 20 minutes. Okay. And the key is who is somebody need to be responsible, okay, for paying attention who is in here. Okay. And whoever is unnecessary, bye. Okay. Be free to interrupt the meeting and say, hey, Art, I don't think we're going to need anything from you. If we need anything from you, we'll call you back. Feel free to drop and get the time back. When you act that way, people understand that you not only you respect their time. Why? Because what they are used to have, okay, is okay, they invite me to another 27-minute meeting. Okay. When you kick people out, okay, I have so far in my professional experience find one person who gets offended because I kicked them out of a
Well,
meeting.
now, okay, so I'll jump in on that because that's something that actually is a common problem that people will run into. You have a large meeting, especially like in a large consulting group, where you'll have like a client planning meeting, and you have a ridiculous number of people there. And early in it, you'll get feedback from people, and it's like, okay, fine, we don't, we got your stuff. There is there's a very rampant fear of missing out. If I'm not there, I'm not valued. I've been dismissed mindset that can be very permeating in, especially within the corporate spaces, because within the corporate spaces, visibility is everything. Doesn't matter if you're actually contributing, you just have to look like it.
Agreed. Mm-hmm.
So that becomes a challenge that you have to lay that groundwork, especially if you're dealing with team time management. You have to lay
Correct.
that groundwork from the very beginning, saying, look, your time is valuable enough to me that I don't want to waste it. And staying here would be a waste. Now, there's a back end piece to that that reinforces it. And that is that every piece of information from the point they leave that meeting to when the meeting ends gets shared with them after the fact, where
Correct.
they can consume it in a comfortable, timely manner. If they are just leaving and then don't find anything out, then yes, you are immediately devaluing them and you're undermining your entire approach. But that can be a very effective time management piece as long as everybody understands that you value their time, they value your time. And if I'm going to ask you, hey, is there anything else you want to contribute or is there anything else you want to know? Nope. Good. Okay.
Then
We'll
feel
send in
free to
meeting
go
minutes
with
after
you.
and move on.
Correct. And but comes again back to answering that question is set the rules clear ahead of
Yes.
time and know what is your part on that
Mm-hmm.
rule. Okay. It's not about the rule. Okay. If I tell you, okay, all right, we are going to record this podcast 8 to 8:50 because I have a hard stop at 9 a.m. Okay. That's fine. Okay, except if at 8:50, okay, you try to close the meeting and I start, hey, no, I have more to discuss. No. But you told me that the stop was what was the rule and what
Mm-hmm.
was your part. Okay. And if we said 8 to 9 or 8 to 8:50 and I come in at 8:20, well, I broke the agreement. I guess there are moments where there is reasons to break the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. But try not to break it and try to renegotiate. Okay? If you're coming late to the meeting, let the people know, hey, sorry, I'm running 15 minutes late. It happens. Okay, everybody will understand. Okay, the problem is those 15 minutes cannot be 27. Need to be
Yeah,
14.
there's an interesting approach to this that I think has been kind of derived um, a lot from the remote workspace that I've been seeing pop up in little places. And that's we've always had this mindset, especially about meetings. And I know we're kind of tangenting into meetings, but it's probably one of our biggest time management sucks, is that the common wisdom is that a meeting must have a very rigid agenda, very rigid timetable, very clear structure so that you get maximum value out of that meeting. There is no meeting where multiple people are contributing simultaneously. They are all contributing in sequence. That's just how it works. You can't all talk at the same time. However, the idea of co-working has become a very interesting model because you wind up with basically people working in a group space, but they're working on the things they need to work on and can have the open discussions when they need to have the open discussions. Now, in an office environment, that rarely works well because the interruptions of shoulder taps and the horrific open floor plan environment that just creates distraction doesn't lend itself to this kind of co-working structure efficiently. But I think a lot of times you can find it work well inside of a virtual space where you have people just connected in a virtual room. And if there's a question, a comment, something like that, they can throw it in there. Now, it doesn't have to be like a team meeting like this or a Zoom meeting. It can be something as simple as a Slack channel or something where you can have those conversations, but you're still in control of your time. You still
Mhm.
engage as you need to engage, not on someone else's schedule. All right, so let's kick into the next thing, and I've actually added a fourth question into here, so this is now three. What's your favorite time management hack? I mean, hacks are always the thing, but what's your favorite little trick of getting your time under control?
The first thing, my favorite one is teach people to plan 7 days. I'm not
Okay.
saying, okay, I am not saying, oh, spread your work on 7 days. No. Okay. I'm saying learn to plan the 7 days. Because the
Hmm.
problem I found is we are not great at translating the skills. Okay. And I remember many years back, okay, when I began on personal productivity, I had a client who, by all means, he was successful. By all means, um, he was making the money. Okay, and we were having a session, and his light was turned off. Okay,
Hmm.
and I asked him, "Hey, Bob, but are you having financial issues? It could be.
Hmm.
You don't know sometimes." And he was like, "No." And then, okay, let's deconstruct it. Okay, and what
Hmm.
happened was was a widow. Okay, he had lost his wife a year back. Okay, and his wife was the one who did all that for all the time they
Hmm.
were together. Okay, and hey, Bob was an executive. He was doing well. He was financially well. Okay, there was no human reasons for that. You know
Hmm.
what was the issue? He had that was the things that his wife managed,
Right.
and he had never applied his skills to that. And that was the job that we did together. Okay.
Hmm.
We look into his personal life, okay, for the first time. Okay. And for the first time in his life, he managed the personal life, okay, in the same way. And he then make a bunch of changes that were good. But that's something that I still find over and over and over. Okay. People is so, one of the things I tell to some of my clients is let's split your time, your task. Okay. And they look at me like I have two heads. And I say, no, for what you are describing, and if you are a listener, this is what you feel when you open your task management. Okay.
Hmm.
What you feel is anxiety. Okay. And you, instead of looking at the calendar and say, okay, what are the opportunities that are coming? What you feel is like, this is the moment that you need to split. Okay.
Hmm.
And understand that you need a system, okay, or a way to manage your personal and a way to manage your professional. Okay. And depending the tools, I teach Nosby, I teach Todoist. On Nosby, it's very easy. Okay. Create two systems inside of the Nosby. They work exactly the same, but they're completely separate. In Todoist, you can do that, or you can just separate and use filters so that way you can only see one or the other. But if you're not excited, okay, about the opportunities that you have in there, okay, you are creating not an opportunity system. You are creating something that it's bogging you down. So the first thing is plan for 7 days. As soon as you start planning for 7 days, your system change. Okay. But the second thing, okay, and I mentioned at the beginning, is where do you want to go? Okay. I have a client right now. Okay. It's a very interesting case. Okay. He is a lawyer. Okay. He began in a lawyers are they are very tied by geography. Okay. Because you
Hmm.
cannot say, oh, I studied law in Singapore and now I'm a lawyer in the world. No, no, no. If you decide to move to Europe, you need to start from scratch. Okay. This person is a lawyer in the United States. He's a lawyer in Europe. Okay. He's a lawyer in another country. Okay. He has studied 3 times. Okay. Why? Because he did the first one and wasn't happy with the practice that he was having. So he decided to expand the practice. So he went to Europe, started studying again, okay, bar himself again, got to the same
Okay.
level of frustration, did it a third time. Okay,
All
great.
right.
Now, the problem is, okay, and the reason we're working together is I asked him, what's next? Are you want to go to a fourth country to be a lawyer, or you?
Yeah, but that's a big level. I mean, that's not like daily time management,
But it's the same.
is it?
The problem, yes, it is. The problem, Art, is that we don't start from you. We don't start. You don't start by the little things.
Hmm.
Okay, the big things is just the little thing in a different thing. Okay, when I start working iPad only, okay, when the iPad came out, okay, why did I change my PC for an iPad? Because the iPad was more capable. At that time, it was not true. Okay, but the iPad gave me something that the PC or the Mac at that time didn't provide for me. Okay. What has been very clear, it's a skill that I have developed over the years, is what works for me. In this particular client, okay, the
Right.
law, Okay, the idea of the law works for him because of what he feels, okay, because he loves reading, studying, all this.
Mhm.
The practice of the law doesn't work.
Okay,
There
so
is no
you're
difference. Hold on. There is no difference between that and the mom who comes to me, okay, as a client and says, these kids are ruining my life and they are driving me crazy. And then we need to think and say, okay, where are your kids? Then show me the calendar. Okay. And this lady said, oh, I don't look at the calendar. Well, okay. It's the same as small problems. The problem is small problems unattended create
Mhm.
big problems. Okay. When you
So
decide to ignore that, that's what happens. Sorry.
all right, so let's get back to the hack. So your hack is planning for 7 days, and you
That's the
find
first
that
one.
works effectively. Now that's planning personal and professional across a seven
Yes,
day
sir.
calendar. Okay. Um, for me, there's a thing that I like to call the 10-minute pat on the head. And I think most people run into the challenge of time management when they start to panic about there's so much going on. I don't have a sense as to what's going on. I don't feel like I'm making any progress. I don't have, I'm all about the inertia that is in place right now. If you take 10 minutes to make a list at that point, and usually this is like a mid-morning thing that somebody will get into, they'll hit it like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, sometimes in the afternoon, not feel like they're moving forward. Make a list of everything you've done to that point in the day, not the things that you need to do, because you've got 87 lists of those and emails and everything else. Make a list of everything you've done so far and then cross off all those items. Because what you need to do is mentally reset to be able to say, yes, I am actually doing things. I am actually using my time effectively because I have done the following things. And that can give you that kick over the hump to say, oh, okay, what's next on the list? There's little things that I have on reminders on my calendars that just literally are just there to remind me to do little things like feed the dog, feed the fish, take out the trash, those kinds of things. And we think they're trivial, but they are accomplishments during the course of a day. They are uses of time that need to be used. So giving yourself that little pat on the back to say, yeah, you know what? You actually are using your time. Then you can get forward to say, oh, okay, maybe I need to spend a little time to get a better handle on the time I'm about to spend. And we have to balance it within that mindset, I think. All right, last main question. When when somebody comes up to you and says, "Man, my time management is just out of control. I just don't feel like I've got a handle on this and I don't know where to start and I don't know what to do." What would be that 30-second recommendation you would give to someone aside from the 7 day hack, which we know about? What would be the one recommendation of a place to start for someone?
Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and tell me where you are going.
Okay.
I'm not asking you where you are.
Hmm.
I'm not asking you how good, how bad, how all those are irrelevant. The question is, where do you want to go? And the reason of closing your eyes is because you want to disconnect from what you are feeling. Okay. What you're, it's very hard, at least for my client, to look at the cows and feel that anxiety. Okay. It doesn't matter if they're executive or mom. Okay. And look where they want to go. What is what they want to create? What is that direction that you are pushing? And when you look at that, okay, and you can get very, very, very clear into that, you don't need to know how to get there. You don't need to have a clue what is what you want, but you
Hmm.
need to know. You don't need to have a clue how you are going to get there, but you need to have a very clear picture of what do you want. Okay. When you get that first thing, the next thing I do is now let's keep that vision, okay, and see how that vision is split in your life, okay?
Hmm.
And I tend to work with 13 categories: health, learning, finances, quality of life, etc. Okay, what is what you want to do? And I've told a story. I will share a story. And I had a person who came to me. We started working into this, okay, and this person came. So I'm leaving my job. That's fine. That's we start working into this. Okay. By the end of the process, okay, she did not leave the job. Okay. She was working for this company for 15 years. Okay. And what she was done with the role. She felt that the department that she was needed some changes. And what we worked was into creating those changes. She was willing to leave, but she discovered that when she built what she really wanted to give back to this company, okay, and presented to management, management was all on board. So her role changed. She got the job that she created on her mind, okay, and it was great. But I have found the same things into personal lives. Okay, I had a client. Okay, it was a mom who came. Okay, this is my life isn't what it is. Okay, and we work into get it back into control, into teaching, giving this person the skills to, as we were saying at the beginning, to say no. Okay, to this is unreasonable. This is possible. This is not possible. And many of these times comes back that you have the skills. Okay. The only reason you get frustrated about things is because you know the result should be different. And that gives you the clue that you have the skills. Okay. When Art gets frustrated, okay, because I have had the luxury to experience because his technology failed, or I get frustrated for the same reason, okay, he don't get frustrated because the technology failed. It's because he understands enough technology to know that this stuff should work. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Say me. Okay. If you know nothing about technology, okay, you will feel no frustration.
So for me, the thing that I would recommend to people, it's it's a big self-acknowledgement. The the value of the time you spend managing your time is as important, if not more so, than the time you spend using your time. And here's what I mean by that. Dedicating some time to getting things under control on a recurring basis. This is not something you can do just once a week, not something you can do just, once a day. This is a constant flowing thing. But those expenditures of time to get comfortable with what's happening in your life, what's happening in your workplace, and having a sense of getting your hands around it is as valuable as all the things that you have to then spend your time on doing. And so often people don't do that. They feel like that's wasted time. They feel like, oh, I really can't dedicate a half hour to like planning things out because that's just planning. That's not actually doing. Well, you know what? If you spend time planning effectively, you don't have to do as much. The other thing, and there is a subtitle under the thing I recommend to people, and it's this: what's the worst that can happen if you don't do something? I know that's more of a task thing than a time management thing, but if you have something that's on your schedule and you look at it and you go, what's the worst that can happen if I don't do that? And then you decide not to do it, you've gotten that time back. And in many cases, there are no ramifications. There are commitments that you have made artificially. There are commitments that you have made to yourself that have no direct value. And you have to decide which is more important, that artificial commitment that you created or the value of that time availability to put it to a much greater use.
Mm-hmm.
It requires a lot of self-analysis, and time management is one of those difficulties where you have to spend it to understand it, and that makes it hard.
Well, and again, I agree with you. You need to spend it to understand it, but also understand that this is something that you can apply everywhere. These skills are as valid in the boardroom as they are in the kitchen. Okay. And in the same way, professionally, you have come and find all these answers for you for things that work. Okay. Doesn't matter what they are. Okay.
Mhm.
The same way, you need to spend that time into the personal work, and I'm going to leave one last story. Okay. And story was a person, okay, learning this, okay, and this person shared with me that he He's the one who do the grocery, the dinners. He's he cooks more times than his wife. Okay, and he's the one who do the groceries. Okay, and he was very frustrated because he do the menus. Okay, or he used to do the menus, and then when he present the menus, okay, the people complain. Okay, and he was feeling, okay, it was unfair. Okay, you guys don't want to cook the West Indian, but you complain every time I cook.
Yeah.
So we look at the system together. Okay, and I told H, can you present me the system? And he showed it to me. And I said, oh, I know what is the problem. And he looked at me and say, what do you mean? And I say, you have every Monday, you will have pasta. Every Tuesday, you will have fish. Every Wednesday, you will have a steak. And he said, yeah, because that make me easy on my brain to plan. I said, of course. The problem is for the people who are coming to eat your food, okay, they look at the calendar and say, oh, it's pasta again. Okay. It doesn't matter how good or bad, okay, they already come predisposed, okay, because you plan 7 days. Okay, you are repeating, okay, pasta carbonara every Monday. Okay, so let's, instead of that, and this is what we did with the system, let's change it for a 21-day cycle. And he was looking at me like, I don't have to say, it's the same thing. Okay, simply Monday is carbonara, next week maybe Wednesday that you are going to do Alfredo. Okay, and we did it. We did a 21-day schedule. Okay, and problem was gone. Because the problem was not the system. The problem was the repetition on the system. It was so short that people associate now the day with the food that they want or don't want, or they were on the mood or not in the mood. So, and this was solved, okay, thinking on systems, okay? It is very, very important to understand what are the systems. And some of these systems, you have them in a very conscious way, okay? And some of the systems are completely unconscious for you. It's just the way you do them, okay? Just because it works for you doesn't mean that that there is no system, okay? I come every night, okay? Get to my room, get to the PJs because I'm going to go, and the next thing I do is put out what I'm going to wear tomorrow morning, okay? Get the pants, get the shirt, get the underwear, everything, okay? And put it in the bathroom. That's me, okay? That is, you may call it like whatever, but that is a system, okay? Why? Because in the morning, I learned many moons back that my brain can decide. So what it takes me 2 minutes to decide at 9 p.m., it takes me 15 in the morning. So guess what? I take 2 minutes over 15 any day of the week.
Right.
So look into those things that you do, conscious or not, and understand they are a system of productivity for you in your personal life, in your work life. Pay attention. You don't need to pay attention forever. You need to pay attention for a moment and tweak what they are. As soon as you do that, the system continue working, but your life start improving significantly.
Sounds good. All right. Well, let's wrap this up and give people some time back.
Perfect. Well, with this, follow us where you like to listen to podcasts, like us, or subscribe to us and leave us a review. Remember, you can interact with us on personalproductivity.club. There's a channel there for cross-platform. We are waiting for you there. And we are Augusto Pinal and Art Gelwicks. See you next time on your favorite device.